This is the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, the first camera-heavy launch of 2024, and it's got a lot going for it. Now just look at this back, the camera array. This is a second generation 1-inch primary. Also notice how there are not one but two periscope cameras. Guys, there's a lot to talk about this one. My name's Ash, you're watching C4E Tech, and today let's take a close look at Oppo's new Find X7 Ultra. This is the box the X7 Ultra comes in. To the sides we have the X7 Ultra and Hasselblad branding. We have the RAM storage to the bottom. I got the top SKU 16512, and let me go ahead, remove that plastic. We have more Hasselblad here, subtle. Once you open up the box, the first thing in is this black insert. This has your regular cards and guides, there's a SIM tool, and there's this solid covered soft case. I like this case being color matched to the SKU you've bought. So I bought the light brown Find X7 Ultra. Oppo offers two other color options. The blue is a kinda similar dual tone finish, while with the black is just black all around. It's more minimalistic and stealthy. No matter which color you choose, the phone feels quite hefty. Anyways, we'll talk about all that in a bit. For now, coming back to the box, we have a USB Type-A to Type-C cable, and finally there's this 100-watt SuperVOOC charger. Using this 100-watt charger, you can get the 5000 mAh battery on the Find X7 Ultra to 50% in just 10 minutes, and the full charge takes 26 minutes. So it's quite fast. Oppo also provides support for wireless charging at up to 50 watts. The build, the design, what do you think about this? If I asked you to rate this design on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate it as? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, let me now tell you what I feel about it. The X7 Ultra, it's a hefty phone. In hand, you're definitely gonna feel the weight, 221 grams. It's quite thick too at 9.5 millimeters. But the display, the sides, they curve inwards, so it actually feels a little slimmer in hand. While we're on the topic of the back, this looks nice, right? Now guys, do you actually recognize this phone? This is the A103, Oppo's first ever phone. It's okay if you didn't recognize that, nobody does. But do you recognize this one? This is the Oppo Find 7 7A. So this LED here, they call it the smile design. I feel this is the kind of design Oppo's going back to. The glass surrounding the camera array with the dual tone to the back. You have the glass now running under the camera array as well. So basically this area is glass, the rest of it, it's vegan leather. It has a nice texture to it. It also adds to the grip, adds to the comfort factor. Talking about which, the camera array, as you can see, it's large, it's thick. There is reason for it, good reason, and we will get to that in a second. But the sheer size of it, it means the chances are high for you to have your finger bumping up against it when you hold the phone, and it might especially be a problem when taking pictures. Now on the flip side, the optical fingerprint scanner placement, I will call it optimal. It feels right, quite comfortable. Now let me walk you through the placements. To the right, there's the power and volume keys. There are dual speakers to the top and bottom. There's also an IR blaster up top. Now to the bottom, here's where you get the Type-C port, which is USB 3.2, so good job. And there's the primary mic and SIM tray as well. Now the X7 Ultra, it comes with an IP68 rating for water and dust resistance. And here's the new thing here to the left. For the first time on an Oppo Find phone, we have an alert slider. This works a little differently than what we see on OnePlus phones. And yes, we have the regular ring and silent modes, but then the third option is a VIP mode. This basically disables my camera and location access when you have it set to it. I'm not sure, I think this is specific to the Chinese firmware. For global, it's gonna function very similar to the OnePlus alert slider. Now, alright guys, now while all this is great, the big highlight for this phone, the selling point, it's gotta be the optics, right? After all, two periscope cameras, that second generation 1-inch sensor, those are the highlights. Now to the back, as you can see, there are 4 cameras. And like I mentioned earlier, the array, it's huge, it's thick. So the etched patterns around the array, they are more prominent. You see the Hasselblad red dot, that's still present, so they're retaining that design language. Inside, there's a diamond pattern with the specs mentioned all around. The Hasselblad logo, just like on the OnePlus phones, it's now just the H that's mentioned to the right. So this primary, it's Sony's second generation 1-inch sensor, Litia Lite 900. It's paired with a f1.8 lens that's optically stabilized. So this is your 23mm equivalent, and it does a great job with images, well detailed, excellent dynamic range. Since this is the second generation 1-inch sensor, it's supposed to consume battery lesser when being used. Anyways, even under low light, initial impressions, I think Oppo's done really well with the sensor. The next sensor, it's Sony's Light 600. It's paired with a 14mm equivalent f2 lens. So this is your ultra wide. As I showed you earlier, this is the one you're going to have issues with. It's going to pick up your fingers in the shot unless you're careful. And the images, well, the color matching is fine and they're pretty detailed. They do seem to have a fair bit of edge distortion. Now the Find X7 Ultra, it's the first phone to ship with 2 periscope cameras. So we have Sony's IMX890, a sensor we've seen used on flagship phones in the past. And that one, it's paired with a 65mm equivalent f2.6 telephoto lens, again with OIS. So 2.8x optical zoom. The minimum focus distance is just 25 centimeters for this camera. So you can get close up and shoot images like this. Then we have the Sony IMX858, which is paired with a 135mm equivalent f4.3 lens, once again with optical stabilization. So this gets you 6x optical zoom. The minimum focal distance for this is 35mm. So you can once again get quite close to your subject. With video, there is no 8K. Honestly, I don't care. 8K is pretty much a gimmick. Give me good 4K 60 and I'm super happy. And that they seem to have done. The 4K 60 footage, very good, detailed, well stabilized, excellent dynamic range. To the front, we have a 32MP f2.4 for selfies, fares quite well, natural skin tones, good edge detection, and it supports 4K video too. Surprising, so no complaints. Around the selfie camera sits a 6.82-inch OLED panel, one that's covered by Corning's Gorilla Glass Victus 2. Resolution here is Quad HD+, refresh rate is 120Hz, and it has LTPO2 to help vary the refresh as per requirement. Now this panel, it's quite bright. Oppo claims 4500 nits for HDR. Under manual mode, we got around 670 nits, and under auto, it went up to about 1300 nits, so it's quite bright to use outdoors. You shouldn't have any issues looking at this screen when you're outside on a sunny day. Earlier on in this video, you saw that this display curves at the edges, and it's not just to the sides. Even at the top and bottom, there's a very subtle curve. So when you swipe to go into the home screen or you swipe down to bring down the notification bar, that feeling, it's a little better. It feels a little natural. And also this panel can be used with wet hands. So IP68 rating, wet hands, nice touch. Now, given everything we've seen so far, it would be very stupid of Oppo to not use the 8 Gen 3. So no surprises, they've used the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. It's paired with 12 or 16 gigs of LPDDR5X RAM, 256 or 512 gigs of UFS 4.0 storage. Benchmark scores are great, but the Find X7 Ultra, we did find it to run a little warm, and it also throttles quite a bit. As you can see, the X7 Ultra lost about 45% of its performance on a 20-minute GPU stress test, both with the performance mode on and off. Now this isn't optimal, but the Find X7 Ultra is not alone. It seems to be very common with flagship phones this generation, especially with the camera focused ones. On the software side of things, we have ColorOS 14 built atop Android 14 running the show. We've seen ColorOS 14 a lot in the recent past, and there's nothing new for me to say here. So I don't really want to go back and talk about the same features again and again. So basically, the software, it's stable. Find X7 Ultra, this software plus the top shelf hardware results in it being extremely fluid to use, fast and snappy, very responsive. And finally, we get to the pricing. The Find X7 Ultra starts at 5999 RMB, which roughly converts to 71,000 Indian rupees or $835 US. What do you guys think about this price? Now, Oppo, in my opinion, they've done some things very well. The optics, the sensors they've chosen, the dual periscope telephoto cameras, the alert slider they've included, the design from the back. They've also checked all the right boxes you need to when you have a good flagship phone. There's an IP rating, charging speeds are good, chargers in the box, wireless charging support is provided, there's LTPO, Quad HD Plus display. You get what I'm saying. Now, there are some areas where there is room for improvement. For example, the stability scores. But this phone as a package, what do you think about this asking price? Let me know in the comments. Personally, yes, it's expensive, but the Find X7 Ultra definitely seems to be a very interesting phone for what they're asking. Anyways, that's it for my unboxing. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.